Hi, my name is Mike Worth, and this demonstration is about making a through mortise and tenon with wedges. First thing we need is our range of tools. We've got our squares on the end here, then we've got our mortise gauge, otherwise known as a combination gauge. Here we've got 2 points at the bottom and 1 point at the top. These are the 2 points we'll be using for this job. We've got a range of chisels. These are bevel edge chisels, and they're usually used for doing light work. We've got ourselves a mallet, and we've got our mortise chisel here for cutting the mortise itself. And finally, we've got our tenon saw. Very first job, the very first thing we do is we take a look at our wood and we decide which side's going to be face side and which side's going to be face edge. Face edge and face side are really, really important to us. This has got a bit of a knot there, it goes all the way through. This is probably the better side. This is going to be our face side. So the mark for that, I'm just going to do it this way. Mark for that, that's your face edge. Sorry, that's your face side. My pencil lead broke there. And then on this side, I'm going to mark it down like that, and down like that. That's our face edge. Face side, face edge. Turn it. Look at this piece of wood as well. This piece of wood's actually very clean all the way around. So again, face side should look like that, and face edge like that. Those are the two sides that are most important to you altogether. If you haven't got those marked up, you're going to mess the job up. These are the sides against which all the stocks of your tools go. So the mortise gauge, the stock will always be on those two sides, never on any other side. The stock of the square will always be on those two sides, like that or like that. You can square all the way around, but it must never go onto these other two sides. Okay, so put that to one side. Our first job is to mark it out. Now the general proportions for a mortise and tenon are a third, a third and a third. So we'll have 1/3 for the shoulder, 1/3 for the tenon, 1/3 for the other shoulder. And that will be echoed in the mortise. So we'll have side of the timber, then the mortise, which will be a third, then the side of the timber, which will be another third. Okay, this timber is about 30 mils thick. So what we need to do is get our gauge. We've got a gauge here, and we need a mortise chisel that's approximately 10 mil, because it's 1/3 of 30. And what we do is we put that chisel against our points, like that, and the chisel, the end of the chisel here, should just go in between the points at the top, like so. To adjust it, make sure your stocks are loose off, and then you adjust the pin by just moving the nut at the end of your mortise gauge. Come back, make sure that it does actually fit in there, and it is exactly correct. I'll just check on that one. Okay, that's about right. And then it's just locked in place with the threaded screw on the top of the mortise gauge. Right, that's set up our mortise gauge. All we want to do now is mark out our joint. So, first things first, grab yourself your pencil, and I've actually just taken the point off the lead of this one, so I'll just sharpen that back up again. Again, it's a 2H pencil. You should always use a 2H pencil. Anything less than 2H's is too soft and will give you a big mark. Anything harder than 2H, you'll struggle to get the marks out later on. So go for 2H and make sure it's nice and sharp. Okay, so there's my pencil ready to go. We can mark the mortise or the tenon first. It doesn't matter, the tenon's the bit with the tongue on, the mortise is the hole. So let's do the mortise first. It's going to make very little difference which way around we do this. Sits there like that. The mortise is going to go in the middle of the wood. We'll do it the easy way. Take a piece of wood, put it on the end of the timber like that, put a tiny little mark. Get yourself a ruler, and funny enough, I was going to say 10 inches, but that's a bit out of date nowadays. So we got 2, 5, we got 2, 5, 6, really, 2, 5, 6. So half of that is 1, 5, 1, 2, quick. Oh, no good at I have to do functional maths now, not when half of that is 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, or something like that. So it's going to be, actually, just there, which is in fact going to be 1, 2, 7 there. 1, 2, 7 we're on. Once we're on that mark, we're going to get our square. Again, our stock is against our face edge. In this case, it's up against the face edge, and we're just going to put a line across like that. Simple as that. We then get our bit that the tenon's going to go on, we put up against it, and put a little mark, like so. Square that across. You don't have to put a very heavy line here, it doesn't really matter because it's on the face side, and you're not going to worry too much about. Put it there, and we're going to square them across, like so. We square that across. Turn it over. Again, my stock is not leaving the face side and face edge. I'm just going to mark that across there like that. Okay. Face side and face edge, that's going to face up and in. So this is going to be the outside. And this is going to be a wedged mortise and tenon, so what we're going to do is leave some wedge spaces. Wedge space wants to be around about, well, somewhere around between 3 and 4 mil in this case. So we just mark on the wedge spaces. I'm going to do about 4 mil wedge space. And pop that in there, a little mark there, and a little mark there, like so. We're going to get our face side, we're just going to put a line across. We only need to do it on the back, like so. That's our wedge spaces. That will do for now. We can make them bigger or smaller. It really doesn't matter that much. That's our mortise. Now we're going to come back and we're going to do the tenon next. Tenon goes on the end of this wood in this case. So all we need to do is get our timber against here, pop it on the end, make sure it's nice and flush, put a little mark. It's on the face side. Turn it over. Using the stock against your face edge this time, we're going to put a little mark there. Across the shoulder line. Come back this way. Across and across the back. Have you noticed that my stock is not leaving the face side? I'm turning it over now and I'm going to come back across on the face edge, sorry, on the face side, and our lines line up. Okay, that's where we're at with that one. So the next thing we need to do, we've adjusted our mortise gauge earlier on so the points are the right distance apart. What we need to do now is adjust it so it's in the centre of the timber. So I'm moving that along to about there, and then I'm just going to guess it. I'll put it there like that. I'll put it up against my timber, like so. I'll just adjust it a tiny bit more. Yeah, we're kind of nearly there. Put it like that. In between the joint, because then it isn't going to show too much. Turn it over. Put the points in. Yep, slightly out. Gentle. Tap up. When those two holes marry up, you know you're spot on. Turn it over. There we go. We're about right to that. It doesn't matter if you're slightly out, simply because if you always keep that stock against your face side, when you're marking all these out, it'll always come flush. So, all we need to do now is put our mortise marks in, line down there, like so, turn it over, still working on face side, gauge down there. You might want to mark them out, make them a bit darker with your pencil. Okay, what we're going to do now is going to mark out the tenon. I usually put the tenon, do this in the vise. Well, you don't have to. I tend to do it. When you first start, it's quite hard to gauge on the end. So I'm just going to stock up against there, because that's our face side. Just get a gauge across. Then we're going to gauge down the other side. Push up nice and tight against your wood, like so. Turn it over. And I'm just going to go down the other side. You can do this, you can push up against the bench, it doesn't really matter how you do it, so long as you keep it nice and tight, otherwise your joint won't fit. On the tenon, I am going to use a pencil, because when I cut this tenon, I was always taught that what we should be doing is leaving half the line. If you use a pencil mark and a gauge, you'll find that you can draw two lines in place of one. So put that down there, and I'll come down this side, come down there. That's going to be my tenon. I'm going to leave that now. I'm going to cut my mortise first. Right, I cut the mortise. Put a piece of wood in the bottom of your vise to support your mortise. Now, I'm going to put two bits in here, otherwise you won't be able to see me cutting it. We'll use that bit, so that's going to go on the deck like that. That's going to go on there. And I'm going to use a little packer in here just so that the thing stays up nice and tight. What we mustn't do, what we really don't want to do, is cut all the way through with our mortise chisel to start with. Otherwise we'll break out the back of the wood. So, using our mortise chisel, start roughly, you can start close to one end, but don't start on the end because you don't want to leave up against it. Keep it nice and straight. Watch what you're doing. Keep the thing nice and straight and away you go. You don't want to mess around with this. You actually want to hit it fairly hard. Keep the joint in the centre of your wood all the time. Mortise chisels do have a bit of a tendency to slide around on the wood, so just be careful, otherwise you might not get as clean a joint as you want. You'll also note that I'll come up to the end here. I've left a bit of room up against, I won't do the wedge spaces yet, because it means I don't damage the material. So I come up to the edge like that, and I always lever inwards. Never lever against your lines. That's got a bit of a tendency to leave marks. When you compress the timber on the edge, it looks a bit scruffy. Like that. I'm just going to come up against there. And now I'm just going to go back through that lot. Because I want to come roughly to the centre of the wood. We don't want to go all the way through, as I said, because you'll damage it. It's a little bit sort of laborious, but I'm going to take some on. Right, on that far, take it out of the joint. That's where we've got to so far. Now we're going to turn it over, and we're going to do exactly the same, coming back the other way. This time we haven't got the luxury of wedge spaces, because that's going to be the inside part, and we just need to be a tiny bit more careful up against the shoulder lines, because we don't want to damage those shoulder lines. So I'm just staying away from those. And away we go. In between the joint, in between the mortise gauge marks. Try not to miss that too much. And you really do want to, you need to do this in a controlled way, but you do need to give it a little bit of force, because otherwise you'll be there all day. And as you can see here now, I'm going through. Right, I'm going to come back this way. Come back that way. And now, I have actually gone through now, so we want to get as much rubbish out as we can, get the waste out. We'll use a small chisel in a minute, get the rest of it out. Turn it over, just with gentle taps in it, and copy it all up. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to come up against those shoulder lines. Keep them nice and straight. I don't want to go outside of them, but from this point on, we don't want to touch those shoulder lines because they'll leave a gap otherwise. Okay, so I've got that out, and I'm just going to take out a few of the smaller bits, like so. But we don't want to touch those shoulder lines. Going to take that there. That's as far as we've got so far, and you can see that it's punched it through on the other side as well. And a gentle tab will start to fall out. What we're going to do now is just pull some more out from this side. And just pop that back into the vise. I probably don't need a support underneath it now because we've done all the major hammering. Just take that one out. Do it up nice and tight. And we're just going to pop out some of the waste. But what we don't want to do is lever against the side of the wood if we can help it. Because when we do that, we damage our wood. Just going to clean down the side of there. Just give it a bit of a, just make sure the chisel actually goes through the joint nicely. It actually works through there, like so. Otherwise, it will not actually work terribly when it comes to cutting it. Now we're going to do the wedge spaces. Now the wedge spaces are slightly angled, well they are angled into the mortise. Right, like so. All the way through. We don't go all the way through with these. The wedge spaces only go about halfway down to the timber. You go at a slight angle. It's the wedges that will help keep the joint together later on. Make that one a bit deeper. Okay, we are getting there now. Try not to touch your lines with your chisel. Just check, make sure that the thing is nice and clean down the side, there's no big gaps or anything, you haven't come through. Just check it, all good. Just come down there, all good. That is our mortise. So there's our mortise ready and cut. Okay? What we will have, we'll have a slight dent here, because this is old wood. When we come to put the joint together, we'll have a slight dent there because it's already dented. That is our mortise part. What we're going to do now is we're going to cut the tenon. Now, cutting a tenon is pretty much exactly the same as you would do for a T-halving or something like that. We've already marked it out. Stick it in the vise. And what I was always taught, although not everybody agrees with this, is that you aim to leave in half the line. If you can't leave in half the line, leave it all in. But try to aim to leave in half the line. So I've started on the far side, I brought my saw across, and I'm going to saw down this line. So what I'm effectively doing is I'm only sawing the lines that I can see. Like that. I'm going to cut the other cheek now. Again, I'm going to saw at an angle. Down to the bottom. What we haven't done, try not to cut past your shoulder lines. Turn it over, swing it round, and we're going to cut back down here. Yeah, that side. So, stand it up, and just finish off your joint. Just finish off your cut on that frame. And there. You really don't have to worry too much about this as long as you don't pass through the line, because you've done all the cutting to the right side. Okay, so we've cut down the cheeks, and as you can probably just about see the lines, more or less still in there. Yeah, half the line in roughly. We might have to do a bit of chiselling, but as a general aim, that's a good way to go at it. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is we need to cut the shoulders, the actual shoulder lines across there. I always use a vise, not everybody does that, it's entirely up to you. The other thing that's really good practice is to actually put a score line across your shoulder line. Your shoulder lines generally go across the grain. When you cut it with a saw, you tend to get spelching. Spelching is kind of a little breakout. If you get a chisel, or better still, if you've got a proper marking knife, put it in there and just come across the line. Come across your shoulder line. Like that. That's all you've got to do. That has already scored the fibres and will help avoid too much breakout. Again, aim. You're coming down that line you've just scored. Leave in half that line. Now, traditionally, they always said hang on to those bits, the cheeks, because you can use it for your wedge spaces. And you can just about, slightly small, but you can get away with that. That's what the old joiners used to do. And at this point, I usually have a quick clean across the joint just to make sure it's looking generally where I want it to be. I might put a little tiny bit off there. Yeah. Check your shoulders, are they nice and clean? Don't leave her against the edge of your shoulders because that will leave a mark. Nice and clean on there. And on what I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn this over that way now. So I just want to have a quick look, see where it's clean there. It's not looking too bad. I'm not chiselling through. Don't chisel all the way through, it'll damage your wood. How's that looking? Yeah, and just take out that bit of a few little bits in the corner. Right, we're going to do the other side now. Turn it over. Come back the other way, and we're going to just score that shoulder again. I only forgot to do it that time. So pop that up against there, and just score across. I'll just help a little bit. It helps a lot if you've got a proper marking knife. Chisel up against it, we're going to leave in about half the line if we can. Right, I'm just going to come down there, score that. Take that out of there. Just mark across, just take a little bit more out. Now if we've got this somewhere near right, we'll just go straight in. If it hasn't, we'll have to take a little bit more off the cheeks. We can afford to have it tight across the width like that. We can afford to have that tight. What we don't want is it tight that way. If it's tight that way, when we hammer it together, it will want to split the wood out. Yeah, so tighten its width that way, but not its thickness that way. Yeah. Try not to chisel through. Just make sure your shoulders are clean. And again, don't lever against your shoulders. Okay. Just have a look, see if the job's about right. You know, just see if it's reasonably clean, reasonably tidy. Don't look too bad. It looks like a bit of a lump on the shoulder there, so just put it back in. Just take a tiny bit off the back. Okay, that's that part done. Not looking too far out. All we need to do now, take our face side and our face side. Those two like that. That's going to face up, that's going to face up. Let's see. So we push it up against there. It's looking like it might fit. We don't know yet, so we'll just give it a gentle push up. There you are, nice and flush on that side. Not looking too bad on the other side. And now we've just got to put the wedge spacers in. All we need to do. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give that a very gentle tap. Just to keep the shoulders up nice and tight. As tight as we can. Alright, got that there. Now, we want our wedges. This is where keeping our bit of wood from the shoulder came in. When we cut the cheek, we can keep a bit on there, right? So, get your piece of wood, get a ruler, and this doesn't have to be mega accurate. All you need to do is get it somewhere near. We're going to put it at an angle, like so. Put a little mark down there. And if we turn it over, we'll do the same on the other side. Because we only need 2 wedges in this case. It's a bit of a pain to cut actually. So I'm going to put on that, and I might even use a bench hook now. This is something I hardly ever do because I hate them. But we're going to put it there like that, put it into there, get our saw. You could just cut this with a chisel if you really wanted to. We're just going to cut down that line. We're cutting with a grain now, so it can be a little bit tricky. Something like that, turn it around, and we're going to come back the other way. Put that out. Like so. We now have our 2 wedges, as you can see they're kind of wedge shaped. Like so. 2 wedges. All good. All we now need to do, get our joint again, make sure it's all nice and tight together. We're going to pop it back in the vise. Obviously this would be cramped up in a different way in a job, but it's got to sit there like that, we know. And we've got to get our wedges. We're going to put one in that side and one in that side, like so. Normally this would all be glued together before you put your wedges in. All we do now, hammer, gently tap that side, gently tap that side. As you can see, you can knock them in quite a long way really, because they're doing the work for you. Get your saw. Now it's better if you've got a little plate, but you can do this with a saw, as long as you don't make too much of a mess. Saw it off. There's our mortise and tenon. Done. Straightforward, as easy as that.